Hello guys, welcome back to my MMA channel. I said I would be uploading a little bit more around here, and here we go. Even if it is just reacting to one of my old videos. So at the start of the year, I made a video where I tried to predict who would be champion in every weight division by the end of the year. Now, there are no more UFC title fights this year, so we can finally look back at that video, see how many I got right, or more likely how many I got wrong. I will probably be doing another one of these to predict the end of 2023, but I think we are going to be doing that on the Verbal Money podcast, which you can find on VMTV. So be sure to head over there for that, and we'll be having a discussion about all of that stuff, and that should be a fun episode of the podcast. So we're going to watch this video, see what I said, and I'll play you some clips from it. Okay, let's get into it. I just feel like after she beat Weili and Joanna twice, I don't really see anyone else in the division that right now, at least, is on her level. When I look at... So starting off my predictions, I went up in weight classes. So starting at the very bottom of the weight classes in the UFC, I went for Rose Namajunas at strawweight, which... not a very good prediction in the end. I think it was on Dan Hardy's YouTube channel where they made a pick about Rose being probably the best in the world, and you would pick her against anyone else in a fight where she isn't the champion. But she does seem to struggle a little bit with having that weight on her shoulders, that extra pressure, and that ended up being a factor, I think, in... her fight with Carla Esparza, which obviously I didn't predict Carla Esparza to defeat Rose Namajunas. Not many people did, so I'm not feeling too harsh on myself about getting that one wrong. And then obviously Weili Zhang went on to go beat Carla Esparza, so the title actually changed hands twice whilst I predicted it to stay with Rose Namajunas. So not very good prediction to kick things off, but I'm not too harsh on myself because no one predicted Carla Esparza to beat Rose, and I had a good reason to pick Rose after she defeated Weili twice, who I feel like is the other clear best fighter in the division. But there you go. I am less confident in this than the Thug Rose pick, just because I think that flyweight, there are other people that are on Brandon Moreno's level. Like, it seems crazy to me that I'm picking Brandon Moreno to go through the whole year without losing a fight, and yet his first fight of the year in a couple of weeks' time is against Deiveson Figueiredo, who I felt very 50-50 about in that second fight, and Brandon Moreno swept the floor with him, but it still seems crazy to count Figueiredo out. Like, the guy is an incredible fighter. And the other big threat for me is Askar Askarov. That guy is chomping at the bit. On to the lowest weight men's division is, of course, flyweight, where I predicted one of my favourite fighters in the UFC, Brandon Moreno, to keep hold of the title. This was a difficult one to predict because Figueiredo versus Moreno were going to do their trilogy fight, and my prediction really came down to who was going to win out of those two guys. Though I did say in the prediction that Askar Askarov, who is no longer in the UFC, which is weird to say, and Kai Kara-France had their huge fight coming up, which would have a big say in the division, which it did. Kara-France won and went on to fight Moreno for the interim title, which Moreno won. So I got the prediction wrong, but Brandon Moreno is the interim champion, and he is challenging for the world title in the first pay-per-view of the year. So that's not too bad. I did get the prediction for Moreno-Figueiredo wrong, but if their fourth fight had happened a month earlier, so we got it this year, then I think I would have got this prediction right, because I do think Moreno is going to beat Figueiredo in their fourth fight. And yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, that one. Women's flyweight division, easiest pick of the bunch, if we're being honest. Valentina Shevchenko to end the year as champion. The only way I can see her not being champion is if she vacates this title for some reason, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later. On to the strawweight division, probably the easiest pick of the year, which was Valentina Shevchenko to still have hold of the title. Again, this isn't a crazy prediction. Everyone knows that Valentina Shevchenko is the best strawweight fighter on the planet. However, this year we did see her taken the furthest she's ever gone to losing that title in her fight with Tyler Santos, which, again, nobody could have seen come in, so that's fine. But obviously Shevchenko did retain the belt, so that was an easy one. There's not a lot to say about it. this worries me a little bit because I've done 4 picks and no belts changing hands, which is not going to happen. It's just not. The UFC does not work like that. But Petr Yan's one of the ones I'm very confident on this list in. We've already seen him beat Jose Aldo and Corey Sandhagen pretty convincingly. I thought that he was beating Aljamain Sterling convincingly at the time of the illegal stoppage, disqualification. So I would imagine that Petr Yan will come through that fight, and I can see him fighting probably TJ Dillashaw as well this year. Who I think he beats as well.
At bantamweight, I went for Petr Yan to end this year as world champion. Of course, he was going to have his rematch with Aljamain Sterling that I think a lot of people, including myself, obviously, thought he was going to win, which he didn't, and he went on to lose to Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley as well. So very strange to think about the position that Petr Yan is in now compared to when I made this initial prediction. I didn't expect him to lose either of those fights. I expected him to beat Aljamain Sterling and then face TJ Dillashaw and beat him as well. But that obviously didn't happen. I do think Petr Yan will make his way back to the title at some point. I think he's just too good for it not to happen at some point. But yeah, didn't get that one right. Didn't see Petr Yan losing 2 fights this year. Strange old time for Petr Yan.
Okay, women's bantamweight. This one, I feel like is not usually a big one. You go Amanda Nunes, next category. But now it is because of Juliana Pena. She's blown the whole thing wide open. And with that in mind, I've gone for Valentina Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko has been waiting for this moment to get her hands on the bantamweight title. So here's how I'm kind of seeing this play out. I think Nunes will probably take some time off, come back, and I think she does beat Juliana Pena in the rematch, if we're being honest. And after that, I just don't see another challenge out there for Amanda Nunes.
Alright, this is probably the prediction I got the most inaccurate on. Not only did Valentina Shevchenko not end the year as bantamweight champion, she didn't even challenge for the world title. This was a bit of a bold prediction. This is the one that I think it was quite obvious that was a bit more of things I want to see happen than things I think we'll see happen. My reasoning behind this, as you would have seen in the clip, was Nunes beating Pena for the belt, and then Shevchenko facing her and eventually beating Amanda Nunes. But that didn't happen. Valentina Shevchenko's had a busy year, and the Tyler Santos fight, a lot of people, we're going to get the rematch of that, so it didn't happen this year. I do think Valentina Shevchenko will fight for the bantamweight title at some point in the future, but it didn't happen this year. Will I predict her to win it in my next video? I'll have to give it some thought, but we'll see.
For me, this is one of the divisions where there are 2 people who are better than the rest. I'm, of course, talking about Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. That's not to say there aren't other great fighters in this division. Of course there are. There's so many great fighters at featherweight right now, but I just think that Max Volkanovski, I've just combined them into one person. Imagine how scary that would be. I think that they beat any of the other people on their day. That's kind of the only reasoning behind that.
This is another one that my prediction wasn't very good on. The featherweight division, for me, really came down to who was going to win the trilogy fight between Volkanovski and Max Holloway, and I went for Max Holloway again. I think, not necessarily thinking with my head, more thinking of things that I want to see happen. Not that I love Alexander Volkanovski, he's one of my favourite fighters, but I wanted them to keep their streak of fights going, and the only way that could happen was if Max Holloway picked up the win, which he did not. And it was a very dominant performance from Volkanovski, who I do not see losing that title for quite some time. Of course, he is fighting in his next fight to become a double champion, so that'll be a tough one to predict. But yeah, got that one pretty wrong, but only one fight that I predicted wrong to not get the final champion correct. But I probably should have seen it coming that Volkanovski was going to win, let's be honest.
Of course, the next fight that you're probably going to be looking at for that title is going to be Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, which is an incredible matchup that I do not know how to pick. Luckily, I don't think I need to pick it in order to make this prediction. I've, of course, gone with Islam Makhachev, who I personally would pick to beat Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. Don't get me wrong. Him versus Oliveira and him versus...
Again, by no means a bold prediction, but you've got to take these W's when you get them. Islam Makhachev did go on to become the lightweight champion. it didn't matter who won out of Gaethje and Charles Oliveira because Islam beat Charles, who obviously came out of that fight with a great performance against Gaethje and then was kind of dominated against Islam. It's going to be tough for me to not pick Islam in the video to predict the champions at the end of 2023. The guy just looks unstoppable right now. And yeah, I got that one right, but I think most people predicted Islam to end the year as champion.
Okay, welterweight. This one's tough because not only have you got Kamaru Usman potentially fighting Leon Edwards next, which I think is going to happen, and I rate Leon Edwards massively. I've been waiting for him to get a title fight for so goddamn long. But of course, you've got Khamzat Chimaev waiting in the wings, and no one really knows just how good he is. We've seen
at welterweight, this is one that I'm disappointed in myself for, but also I've never been happier to get a prediction wrong. I predicted Kamaru Usman to end the year as champion. I thought that this year he would face Leon Edwards, of course, and potentially Khamzat Chimaev, which didn't happen. But either way, I still predicted Usman to win any of the fights that he had and end the year as champion, which didn't happen because Leon Edwards is the world champion. And I'm very, very happy about that and not too annoyed to get this prediction wrong, of course. But at the start of the year, it did seem really difficult to imagine Usman dropping the title. The closer the fight got, the more I felt confident in Leon. But I'm trying to give myself credit for a prediction I didn't make here. I predicted Usman to leave the year as champion. Who knows which way I'll go on the welterweight division for the end of 2023. We shall see. I'll have to have some serious thought about that. But it's going to be tough to doubt Leon Edwards again, I'll tell you that much.
At middleweight, yes, it is another champion who I believe is going to retain his belt throughout the next 12 months. I'm talking, of course, about the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya. For me, again, this is the same as the Holloway and Volkanovski thing, where I think Adesanya and Whittaker are the two best middleweights by some distance right now. So it really comes down to their big rematch.
At middleweight, my prediction again came down to one fight. At least when I was doing the video, I felt like Robert Whittaker or Israel Adesanya would be the champion, whoever won their second fight, which I thought Adesanya would win, which was correct. My mistake was not considering the factor that Alex Pereira could make his way to a title shot, because that is a tough fight on paper for Israel Adesanya. I just didn't see it come in this quick. That's fine. I don't mind admitting that. I did not see Alex Pereira getting a world title shot this fast. I don't think many people did. It came together very, very fast. I thought the Strickland fight would give him some issues, which it most certainly didn't. So, yeah, I mean, we were pretty close to this one. Adesanya was champion until, like a month ago. And very, very close fight with Alex Pereira until it was stopped in the 5th round. So not too disappointed in myself for that one. Does Izzy win it back? That is the big question, isn't it? Or does somebody fight Pereira first and then Izzy wins it back? We'll see. We'll get to that. I've got all of that thinking to do still coming up. I shouldn't put that on myself right now. Anyway, on to light heavyweight.
The reason I've gone with Magomed Ankalaev is because I can't pick who's going to win out of Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochaska. I think that is such a close fight to call. I don't know what's going to happen with this division. However, I think that Ankalaev has the best skill set when you look at potential matchups.
I mean, if the Israel Adesanya one was close to coming true, this should have come true. Magomed Ankalaev, again, not a crazy opinion at the start of 2022 to imagine Ankalaev winning the title at some point in the year. I didn't want to have to predict Yuri Prochaska versus Glover Teixeira, which was an insanely close fight, like I thought it would probably be. Didn't expect them to have to rematch, of course. And then through all of that craziness that happened, Ankalaev ended up getting a title shot against Jan Blachowicz, which in most people's eyes, he should have been crowned the champion last weekend. So, well, last weekend, depending on when you're watching this, but hey. I should have got this one, boys. I should have got this one. This is what I'm saying. This one should have been a W. It was robbed. No, I'm joking. It wasn't robbed. It was a close fight, but I think a lot of people thought that Ankalaev won, including Jan Blachowicz. But yeah, that's going to be another one that's difficult to predict for the next video. Whether Yuri comes back in time to fight for the title again, or what happens with Ankalaev. Does he face the winner of Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill? It's going to be fun. You'll have to wait and see.
Okay, we are rounding it out with the heaviest division in the UFC. Of course, we are talking about the heavyweights belt currently held by Francis Ngannou, but I am going with his former training partner and countryman, I was about to say Francis Ngannou again, Cyril Gane, to take the belt off of him on the very first pay-per-view of the year. This is so tough to call because
heavyweight division. This one went right out the window after about 2 weeks on from recording this video, because they had the title fight between Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. I predicted Cyril Gane to win that fight. He did not. And then Francis Ngannou hasn't fought for the rest of the year. It was a close fight between Ngannou and Gane as well. It ended up being won by Francis Ngannou's wrestling ability, so I'm not too disappointed that I called that fight wrong. That is the beauty of MMA, that Francis Ngannou could retain his title by wrestling Cyril Gane. Not ashamed to see I didn't see that one coming. And then Ngannou doesn't fight for the rest of the year, so it is what it is. I expect Cyril Gane to have a big year. Will he be heavyweight champion? Right now, I'm thinking yeah. But who knows what's going to happen with Ngannou. Like I said, you'll have to stay tuned for the video that I put up where I try and predict them. But I'll also be doing my predictions on the Verbal Money podcast over on VMTV before I put that video out. So be sure to subscribe over there and check out the Verbal Money podcast. Thank you for checking out this video. Thank you also for checking out the original video if you've already seen it, because it was one of the first videos I put up. And I really should post on this channel more. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hit subscribe because I will upload more. I promise. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.